All right, so ZVP on Aztec. Now, what's your thoughts on ZVP on Aztec, Jake?
Well, first off, this is an amazing 9 pool map. I had a lot of tier 3 ZVPs that I was helping the Protoss on my team with, and almost every one of their games, someone 9 pooled. The reason why it's such a good 9 pool map is, first of all, it's a 3-player map. It's very easy to scout. By the time your lings are leaving your natural, you'll already know where they are. And second of all, it's very hard for Protoss to do a proper wall on this map. Just for whatever reason, a couple of the positions are kind of wonky. There's not really any good places to put down a pylon that's in such a way that it's behind the wall. So usually you have 2 gaps in the wall, and that's really frustrating. Now, it is possible to just, 12 patch on this map, overpool, do something normal, but 9 pool and 9 pool speed are definitely the two most popular builds on this map. And then when you get into mid game, um, Protoss has a really hard time securing a third gas. Usually they try to take that third base that's on the low ground, which JC's probe is passing right now, but it's extremely exposed. There's a very wide area where Hydras can get a gigantic concave. They're not really vulnerable to storms attacking into that kind of area. And if you try to opt for the third base that's on the high ground outside of your natural, it's so far away from your reinforcements that it becomes extremely difficult to defend. Zerg can just take the entire map, contain you to this very small area. So I definitely favor Zerg on Aztec in particular, and I think this is definitely a map that Protoss are going to want to be vetoing and avoiding as much as possible. But then again, I'm pretty sure that the players were allowed to pick what kind of map they wanted to play on. So maybe JC's got a strategy for this map.
Yeah, that's a great analysis. I think it is a really difficult map for Protoss to play on. There is a correct wall for each position, and this is
Yes.
the tier 3, so we may not see that correct wall. Sometimes we see some very interesting walls at this level, but even with the correct wall, it's not a easy one to defend. A lot of times it takes some probe micro and some diligent scouting to be able to defend something like a 9 pool.
Yeah, and we see June just going for a regular old overpool. Looks like, I can't quite click on the egg, but it looks like no more than 4 Zerglings. And JC knows his walls, because this is exactly how you're supposed to wall in this position. With the cannon, the forge, and the pylon kind of tucked really close, and taking a nexus, so this is just textbook response from Protoss right now.
Yeah, and I know quite a bit about June. Played him a bit, tier 3. But he is not a cheesy player, not a super aggressive player. Likes his Hydras, is more comfortable playing a more traditional sort of 5-hatch Hydra game versus Protoss, as opposed to, you know, at this level we see a lot of mass Ling, heavy Lurker strategy. So I expect to see Hydra predominant play from him in this game.
Yeah, definitely. I think taking this mineral only is a sign that Zerg wants to go into 5-hatch Hydra. If you're not going to go for a sort of Hydra-heavy style that emphasizes map control, you want to take a third gas sooner. But when you just take this mineral-only base, what you're saying is, I'm not worried at all about securing a third gas, because I'm going to have map control, and I'm going to be aggressive and prevent the Protoss from ever getting out on the map. So this third base, taking the mineral only, is more of a convenience than anything. It allows your Hydras to rally around a central point much easier, and the second gas is really not necessary until you start teching into Hive and diversifying your composition over just regular Hydras and Lurkers.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out real quick is that JC wall's pretty good here, except the gateway needs to be down a frame. Right now,
Oh,
this is
really?
not Ling tight.
Oh, in between the forge and the gateway.
Right, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that whenever you put them right smack next to each other, it's not tight. The gateway's got to be forward a bit.
Okay.
But
And it looks like producing a couple zealots right now. No +1 started. So if it was going to be a +1 speed zealot timing to maybe attack that third. Okay, he's starting it now, so there is still a possibility of the speed law timing.
Okay, Tim was pointing out that it wouldn't be even if you moved it down. Okay, thank you, Tim, with the drop on the knowledge.
Man, I don't know how you Protoss do it. Zerg was pretty much the last race to adopt SimCity as an essential part of their builds, and for good reason, because I think most of them just didn't want to bother all of these intricacies of knowing every wall at every position and the interactions of the buildings and how gateways can be left or right of the forge and they have different properties and that kind of thing.
So he said it needs to be moved up, and that's right. I know that it's got to be at an angle to the forge.
Okay.
I knew that at least. So if he moved it up, but probably not a huge deal here in this game. He is going. For some reason, I don't have a game clock. That's weird.
I think the update. You can put that in options. It removed mine. It removed my AGM and my. It actually turned on my profanity filter for some reason, which I was very upset with. But yeah, so Corsair coming out now, and he's actually getting +1 air weapons, so definitely going to be building at least somewhere between 4 and 6 Corsairs is generally a good Corsair number to have when you go for that +1 weapons investment. And let's see, we can have a Citadel warping in, perfect. And this is just straight up 5-hatch Hydra. Oh, yeah, okay, 5-hatch Hydra. He's got the Evo chamber down, adding this Hydralisk Den, and a second gas. So this is just all perfect. He's hitting his build correctly. And the Corsair is not yet at his base, so this Corsair should not be able to get any Overlord kills. He should have Scourge out well in time to push this Corsair away.
Yeah, that's something you need to identify as a Protoss, is that your first Corsair, pretty much no matter what you're doing, you always need to send it into the Zerg base to scout. Killing Overlords is a secondary priority for your second Corsair, or after you get a scout to see what he's doing. The reason is because you can get picked off by Scourge, like you're going to see right here.
Ooh, yeah.
And losing your Sairs is a really bad way to start the game. And the thing is, he's getting +1 air, but his Corsair production has been pretty spotty. And he has more than enough gas, so I'm curious if he's just getting +1, but he's not really committing to Corsair production, which I'm a little bit confused about.
Oh, wow, he's going to lose his second Corsair, too. Yeah, this is really rough. This is the hard part about playing this style. Why PvZ is so punishing at this level is if you're not watching those Corsairs and kiting the Scourge back over cannons, if you're not allowed to build up to this essential Corsair flock, it's very, very difficult. I mean, he almost got the one Overlord, and June was a little bit late to react with his Scourge. They were sitting at his rally point for a while, and he still managed to get both of those Corsairs. Now Zerg, his second gas timing is ample. He could do a Muta switch if he felt like it. But Zealots are going to try and slow down that progression. I don't think he's going to get any damage done.
Yeah, this is a super late attack. He even built a second gateway, but even with one gateway, you should have about a few more Zealots at 7:30, and these are just very late, so with some good drone control, he shouldn't lose too much here. Hydra's in a pretty good position to block, and the drone's drilling nicely. He's going to have to move the Hydras up here to clean these up, but still, he's going to be throwing away a lot of Zealots for not a lot of damage.
Yeah, I'm personally not a fan of this style, PvZ. I know that this is sort of how you can see Bisu play in a lot of his replays. He just throws Zealots in almost suicidally on these missions where they're never going to return, just trying to snipe as many drones as possible and slow down the Zerg. But that only works if you are able to maintain continuous pressure. And now this is what happens. When you lose all of your Zealots, all of these Hydras that June was building basically just to defend against that inevitable timing attack, now they're just walking across the map, and he's about to bust down the front.
There is 1.5 cannons here. One is damaged. There's a High Templar a long way from having enough mana for Storm, so June can just rally Hydras here and be very aggressive.
And meanwhile, you got Lurker Tech on the way. Moving into the front. Wow. Like, this is the problem. When you lose those Zealots and they're not back at home to be able to push back the Hydralisks, the Hydras just have free reign over the front of your wall right here. And he is adding more cannons, so I think he will survive this. June is not rallying additional Hydras across. just continuing to build Hydras back at home, build up, maybe looking for a prospect of a 4th base soon. But June's in a very comfortable position here. And now I think JC's best chance is to go up to 8 gateways and try to go for some big push where he can try to regain some semblance of map control. You know, losing those Corsairs and then losing the Zealots, there's just not much here at home for Protoss.
The thing about the A-Gate push is that it's really supposed to be hitting about now.
Yeah,
and it's
you're
already
right.
10 minutes, so I think JC is just so far behind in this game. Also, 10 minutes is when you need to be getting a third as a Protoss as well. And it's going to be, this, like you mentioned earlier, it's so hard to get a third gas on Aztec. So he can go for a mineral-only base, but he's already behind, essentially, because he's not pushing to get that. Now, he's moving the probe down,
Yeah.
and if he gets it around 10:30, 11 minutes, it's not the worst in the world, but it's still just quite slow, because June is already getting his 4th.
Yeah, and he's looking maybe to sneak this Nexus, but look, there's a Zergling right there, just ready to defend it already. So he knows that JC is posturing towards taking a 3rd Nexus. Honestly, June doesn't even have to do anything about this. He's gonna take his 4th base, and adding a 6th hatchery back at his 3rd base. This is just very, very safe, conservative play, looking to build up towards the late game.
And June,
No Nexus yet, though.
They got a ton of lurkers at this 4th. That is going to be an ample defense
Oh,
for
yeah,
this
it
4th.
is. Even spreading them out just so nicely. This is really, really impressive play by June, actually, I have to say. You know, if you were to push into this 4th base with High Templars and the force that he has right now, which is mostly Zealot Dragoon, yet only 3 Dragoons and about, oh, I don't know, 10 Zealots or something like that, 8 Zealots, there's no way you're going to break those lurker lines. Those lurkers are going to slice that army up like nothing.
Yeah, there's really...
It's like +2 on the way.
Yeah, there's no way for JC to really attack into this position by the 3rd. It's well defended with lurkers, and then also there's a ton of overlords there, so your chances of getting an obs up close enough to spot the lurkers without obs range is going to be so insanely hard pushing up this ramp. This ramp well defended, and like you said, that 4th is very well defended. June can also now take this base, a couple lurkers up there, and that is very easy to hold for Zerg.
June is actually huge right now. This is reminding me of a Tier 1 game that I casted the other day, which was Ashball versus Vegamox on the same map, identical openers from both players, and right around this time, Vegamox was also at like 140, 150 supply over the Protoss, just absolutely balling out of control. And June can even... This is the point at which Zerg can begin to take really inefficient fights. Honestly, just boxing and dragging units into the Protoss army, and it just does not matter because their economy is so massive.
Yeah, normally at this point in the game, we often see Zerg down in supply a bit, and that's pretty normal, but he's up 40 supply, so that shows you how bad this game is from right now. And now, June's at the point where he can start to just mass-produce lings and throw them at bases. Like this 3rd control group of lings, going to be able to gun down those 3 cannons easily and start pressuring. And honestly, throwing lings at bases is not going to... There's really no economic drawback for June to just start flinging units across the map.
So, do you think JC should actually be out on the map like this, maybe threatening to attack into this high ground, or should he just back up and try to take this 4th base where the observer's at right now on the low ground and adopt a defensive posture and just try to absorb everything that the Zerg is going to throw at him with storms, cannons?
Well, I actually think that being out on the map is generally good, as long as you have vision of this kind of south passageway, so that way you're not going to get caught off guard by ling run-bys. But then, while you're doing that, you should really try to secure a 4th. This base he's taken the 3 o'clock. I really like that base in this map, taking it with a pylon wall and cannons. So he's doing that now. So I think being out on the map is generally a positive for Protoss, because you're going to be able to catch Zerg armies in the open field if you can see them and storm them, when the Zerg isn't ready for it is much better than trying to defend.
Oh wow, attacking into this now. Lots of lurkers here. Where's the observer though? That's the question.
Yeah, good luck trying to get an observer up in this place. I don't think he has range. Most players at this level wouldn't research it. Some storms coming in here, okay, but the coon count is so thin.
Oh my gosh. This is so much Zerg. This is like the back of the box. The Brood War box art, man. Like, holy cow. June is just overwhelming this attack. I think all it took was that push up onto the high ground that put JC's army at enough of a deficit to just allow June to just rush forward and crush this army.
Yeah, there's only goons at home to defend, and against this many lings, it's game over.
Oh man, yeah, he's... You know, it doesn't even matter at this point. There's not enough reinforcements here. These bases are just going to get run over. And Adrenal Gland is going to finish soon. Crackling's just absolutely crushed this kind of composition. They destroy cannons. I mean, they're pretty good against everything, to be quite honest, but... Gonna lose this third base. Fourth base is not even close to saturated. And this is just overwhelming macro from June.
You gotta say,
180 supply to 60.
June played a really clean macro game. I mean, I know he wasn't touched really at all by any harassment, and good Protosses will harass you and keep you on your toes, but even for that, no huge mistakes from him. Just playing a really solid game and taking advantage of how passive JC was.
Yeah, and I think JC, you know, JC had a good comeback plan by trying to take that third base. Unfortunately, it was scouted, and when a move like that is scouted before your army is ready to move out and apply pressure, the Zerg can just react in the most efficient way possible, and it just explode in terms of their economy, in terms of their macro, and we see this, you know, almost max Zerg. This is unbelievable.
I would not be surprised if we see June going to Tier 2 next season.
Oh, absolutely. This was impressive. Like I say, this reminded me very much of Vegamox's play in Tier 1, and Vegamox is an 1850 Zerg, so, I mean, props to June. This was an impressive takedown. GG.
All right, well played, both players, and Team Drag is going to take a 1-game lead.